We're taking a look at the Black Mountain Designs volume pedal today, and if you're looking at this saying, Leon, that's not a volume pedal, believe me, it is. It's just using a big knob in here rather than, I guess, a wah style setup to move the built-in potentiometer. You've got an input for your guitar, then you've got a volume pedal output and a tuner output, which can also just be used for audio through. So yes, you could connect your tuner, but you could also connect it to another amp. There is a two-way toggle switch on here to change the taper of the pot. You've got audio taper and linear taper on here. This is nice and compact, but it has that thing where it's really, really chunky in my hand. It feels very, very well made. The construction, fit and finish is flawless on here. And I just want to take you through a couple of examples. We'll use it as a traditional volume pedal to do some swells and, clean up the guitar signal, but I'll also show you a couple of other use cases for this particular pedal on here. I'll drop a link in the video description if you want to check them out. They are sponsoring this video and they sent this one out so that I could check it out. If you do dig what I'm doing here on the channel, links to my Patreon and the music that I make are in the video description. But for now, let's make some noise with the Black Mountain volume pedal. Do a quick demo and some sounds using this as a standard volume pedal. There are two selectable tapers. I've got it on the audio taper at the moment. I'll give you a quick comparison with some swells towards the end of this clip. I should mention as well that I'm actually standing up so that you can see that this is super solid and sturdy. This Les Paul weighs about 11 pounds, so it's got my weight plus the weight of the Les Paul. And I like that the actual knob doesn't have any left to right play on it. I'm sure if you've ever played live with maybe a piece of gear that feels a little bit flimsy, I know anything that doesn't feel rock solid, I actually hesitate to step on or use because I fear that it's going to stop working. So something like this feels super good. I should also mention as well, what I've noticed is your foot position on here can open up some different possibilities. Like if you keep your heel planted, you can get some really subtle stuff out of it. Whereas if you sort of play with your foot on the top, or maybe you use the middle of your foot on there, you can really ride it quickly from maximum to minimum and get some trem style effects. So let's just hear the core tone and then I'll play around with the pedal. Essentially, the taper is going to control how quickly the note will bloom and really hit its maximum point on there. Myself, and I'm sure a lot of people watching this are probably just going to want to stick it on the audio taper. I feel like that gives you a much bigger window for that note to bloom into, but the linear taper would be great if you were using this at the end of your signal chain. We'll move on to probably my favorite example of using a volume pedal, which is in conjunction with reverb and delay. I'm back on the audio taper, and I'm going to show you a part from a cover of Fake Plastic Trees that I was playing with Club Cabaret. The directive was that the song wanted to be really washy and ambient, and then in the chorus, it needed to sound more like a cello or a violin, basically a bowed instrument. So volume swells with a big stereo reverb and delay. I've got some fuzz going on there. What I've found with this is that if I start with my foot fully on the pedal and I sort of push forward to my heel, I can push the note all the way through its range. Whereas if I start with my heel planted, I can get some much more subtle stuff on there. So I'll start with that first position on there. If you like using wet effects with the volume pedal, you can take it even further by utilizing the through output on here and setting up a wet dry or wet dry wet setup. So what you're going to hear is the through output just going to a clean amp with no effects on it. Then I've taken the regular output to a stereo effects chain that I'm going to be able to blend in with the pedal. Let's check that out. I'm sure a lot of you have been watching this wishing that this was expression pedal compatible so that you could use it with your modeling rig. Well, if you go and grab one of these cables, which is a TRS to dual TS cable, you can make that happen. Basically, you take one of these sides and plug it into the input, and you take the other side and plug it into the output. Then the TRS end you connect to the expression jack on your modeler or your pedal, and you can actually use this as an expression pedal. I'll give you an example where I am controlling the delay mix on my fractal and just blending it in for some extra lead lines. I really hope Black Mountain come out with a dedicated expression pedal so you don't need the special cable. But if you do want to use this, like I said, as an expression pedal, you can kind of use this hack to make that happen. Let's hear really like that with the delay mix right there, and I think I'm going to put this into my main modeling rig, using it like that just so if I want a little bit of extra grease at any time during a gig, I can have that on there. This is such a great example of taking an existing idea that's already pretty well implemented and just doing it differently, but doing it well. It's not just different for the sake of being different. It feels great. The build quality is excellent on there. And once you've used it for a couple of minutes, it makes sense. So like I said, this is going straight into my rig. I would love to hear your thoughts on this pedal in the comment section below. I'll put a link to the Black Mountain website in the video description. And I should mention as well, they make some pretty sweet picks that I've been using as well. These ones right here, and I like the little kind of cork grippy style thing on here. So, you know, if you like having a large pick, but you want to have a nice little surface to hang on to, that's been pretty enjoyable. It kind of reminds me of the pick that I started with, which was the Dunlop Big Stubby, but it definitely sounds different. And, you know, these are super sweet. These feel really, really well crafted, much like the volume pedal. So thank you to Black Mountain for sending these out to me so that I can make a demo. If you dig what you're hearing on here, links to my Patreon and the music that I make are in the video description. Have a great day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.